Hey everyone, Britta Albert here. If this is your first time here, I'm a spiritual transformational life coach. It's my goal for this channel to help you overcome the obstacles that are standing in the way of you living your best and most authentic life. Today's video, I want to talk about how to know if you're hearing from your guides. Now this is a question that I received just the other day. And I know that if one person is asking, then several people are probably wondering the same thing. When you think about your guides, if you have any reservations to that word, guides is just another word for your angels or your higher self. Some people might even call it a conscience on a very, very simplistic level. But essentially, when we hear from our guides, it's the inner knowing that we all have. How do you choose the right path for you in a certain situation in time? How do you know that what you're doing is the right thing to do when you're faced with making a choice? But when you hear from your guides, there's a lot more peace involved with it versus just this outward, I hope for the best, hope it turns out like I want it to, hope that I don't go bankrupt, hope that I don't lose my house. When we do things out of intuition, listening to the innate is another word for listening to your guides as well. It's the inner peace that comes with the decisions that we make. Even in the Bible, it says that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but He's given us a spirit of love, a spirit of power, and of sound mind. So what does that mean? How does that even equate to everyday life? When we make decisions out of fear, we're not making decisions with our higher self. We're not making decisions with the help of our guides. We're not listening to the very God that we're praying to. When we listen to our guides, you're not going to hear an audible voice. Even if you hear somebody say, "My guides are telling me this," that's usually the best way that people can describe what is happening internally, how they're receiving this information. They know that it's being shown to them, but it's either going to be shown in visions or it's going to be a thought that gets put into your mind. Now, the way that you can tell your thoughts from that of your guides or your higher self, or however you want to call it, your angels, is that, again, when you think these thoughts, it is almost like they resonate at a higher frequency. If you think about radio waves, your thoughts, they're going to be here. When you're receiving information from your guides or your angels, those thoughts are going to be received at a higher frequency here. So your mind is here, that information is going to be here. You'll know because, again, you'll have a peace about it. There's just this undeniable, overwhelming feeling of what is right, and we call it our intuition. Whether you believe in guides or not is irrelevant. You're hearing from them anyway. So when you're getting this information, we already do this on a day-to-day basis. We just call it our intuition or listening to your gut. Now, another way that you can kind of boost this listening to your gut is, I know that you've heard me talk about your chakras before. I'll go ahead and list that playlist up here. But when you are focusing on balancing your chakras, if you specifically balance your solar plexus, that is where you're going to get a lot of that courage, where you're going to get a lot of that power, and you're going to hear your guides a lot stronger. Of course, the ultimate goal is to have balance through all of your chakras, but with that specific exercise, which you can find plenty of them on YouTube or just Googling it, is going to help almost like an amplifier with that information. So especially in times like right now, when there's so much going on in the world, there's so much uncertainty, you might have lost your job, I did as well. How can we stand here and say we know things are going to be okay? How can I stand here and just fully be aware and fully know that humanity is okay? It is my innate, it is my gut, it is my intuition, it is my guides. I understand that humanity has been through far worse. So I also understand that the information that I'm getting, it makes sense. It resonates with me. It brings me peace. It gives me a sense of confidence, of sound mind, of power, of love. It's not coming from a place of fear. It's not coming from a place of anxiety. It's not coming from a place of me trying to do anything on my own, of my own power, of my own strength. Do you see the difference? And it's not to say don't trust yourself by any means. It's just to understand How can you hear from your guides? How do you know if you're hearing from your guides? That's simply what it sounds like. It's going to be an inner knowing that you have within yourself. It's so subtle. In Christianity, you'd call your guide as the Holy Spirit. Again, it doesn't matter what you call it, but it's the intuition, the innate, that assists you and tells you what way to go, what choices to make, what direction to follow. The more you listen to it, the more you will hear it. The more you act in it, the more blessed you'll see that your life is. And sometimes it doesn't appear that it's going to be that way for several reasons. Number one is shadow work. If you're in resistance to what you're told to be doing, so say for example, when I needed to come out of the spiritual closet and start talking about some of the things that I was really afraid to share with the world, I had a lot of resistance. So to me, it didn't feel like that was going to better my life. I couldn't see beyond my own fear of the situation, my own fear of persecution, my own fear of judgment, how that would be beneficial, how that would be helpful for other people for me to talk about these things. But I understood and I trusted. I did have much resistance, but once I finally gave in, I finally acted in what I was being told to do, now I can see how many people it's benefiting. When you're not acting in resistance and you start to not only listen to what you're being told, and you also start to act in it, that is really when you'll see that your life starts to do the snowball effect where it's really changing and things are really, really speeding up, and you're really going to get somewhere as far as the changes that you have always been craving within your life. So I hope that this was helpful as to what it sounds like when you're talking to your guides, how to tell if you're hearing from your guides, and just the overall assurance of knowing that it's not going to be an audible voice. Some people may get visions, some people may not get visions. Most people will just have this inner knowing and these thoughts come into your mind that you'll have to stop and ask yourself, is that me? And once you start asking, is that me? And really start to feel into it, the more you listen, the more you question, the more you'll start to hear. I love you guys so much. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you soon.